Hey everybody, welcome back. I I'm so excited to have our next guest, and you'll hear from her, and she'll introduce herself, and I'm just really excited. So before we start though, because I was raised with manners, how are you?
I am so well. It's a beautiful day. Sun is shining, so I cannot complain. How about you? How are you?
I'm okay. You're right. The sun is shining.
Mhm.
When the sun starts shining, I start getting worried that it's gonna get hot.
Oh, right.
I have like a traumatic response to the heat. Or
Got
I'm
it.
activated. I shouldn't say traumatic response, but when the sun starts coming, I'm like, oh, do I need to get the shorts out? Do I need to I get a little, but it is beautiful out there. Do you have plans today? It's Sunday. Do you have plans?
Yeah, well, we were gonna go on a trip because it's a three when we're shooting this is a 3-day weekend.
Mm-hmm.
But the weather was gonna be cutting up that we were like, no, I don't want to do that. So yesterday, me, my husband, and my daughter, she's 9, we went to Michael's. We were just like, what in your heart do you feel like getting? So I got some oil pastels, and my daughter got some craft sticks, and my husband found this like wood thing. And we just sat last night for maybe 2 hours and just created and just had some chill hop in the background and just created and played. And so I'm hoping that we'll get to do something like that again today. Maybe we'll take a walk. I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know. I'm gonna
I
see.
don't know, but I love that. Well, first of all, I know we have an episode, and you haven't even given yourself. I just want to say this. There are, even in therapy, like with adults, there's
Yeah.
this idea of how do we play?
Mm,
How do we go back to this
mm.
space of playing? Like, what does that look like to play? Is that puzzles? Is that frolicking in your yard? Like, what does
Yes.
it mean to play? So I love that you're introducing this to your child.
Mm,
So maybe they can always go back to a place of play, and you and your husband are going back to a place of
right. That's actually so for 2026. I'm calling them guideposts for myself, and I
Hmm.
wrote them out. And for me, 2026 is about growth,
Yes.
play, and
Okay.
evolution, all outside my comfort zone. And so I'm
Hmm.
actually reading this book right now. It's called Play Full. And it's about, again, how do we bring the levity and the excitement of play back into our lives? Because for me, that is so important as a creator. You
Hmm.
have to have that whimsy. You have to have that space for play. And so I've been leaning into that and making sure I'm playing and making sure my daughter has the space to play.
Yeah.
Because I mean, what is life if you don't have the opportunities to just have fun and play however makes sense to you?
Yeah. What do you mean? See the sea. Okay. One
Yeah,
more question about that.
yeah.
How is it that you create space to play? Like, what does that look like? Because I think a lot of people were like, I gotta have a special room, I gotta have these whatever. What does creating a space to play look like for you and your daughter?
Oh, I mean, it'll be the sort of thing where, and play, you got to figure out what that means for you. So here's
Absolutely.
one example what it looks like for us. We get up and she's like, Mama, put that song on. And I'm like, okay. And so right now our song is I Just Might, Bruno Mars. And so I put it on and girl, we just dancing. We dancing, we grabbing each other and dancing, we dancing by ourselves just through the whole song. And then, oh, that was nice.
Yeah.
Or it's art. I love to play with art. I took a whole class last semester,
Mm,
drawing and composition, where I was able to turn my mind off, put
yeah.
on music, and just play with line and drawing. And so that's what it looks like for me. It's kind of like, what do I need in my heart right this moment? How
Sure.
can I make that happen?
Yes.
And again, how can I do without taking it too seriously? Because I think that part's important too.
Yeah.
Allow yourself to
Yeah.
play, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think that was one of my biggest lessons as a mother
Mm,
is I never saw, I'm a child of the 80s. but I
Same,
never
same.
saw my mom play or laugh or giggle or anything. And I can remember she just took sorry, mom, but you did. She just took everything so seriously.
Yeah.
Like even like comedy shows,
Mm.
she just never got the bit, right? And so when my son came along, the one thing that I wanted him to see was like, how can mom be silly? I'm a human being and I can be silly. So we, since he's been very young, we've done 90s Fridays in the car.
Mhm.
I do the choreographed dances that I remember. Even in the morning to this day, he hates it. We will wake him up in the same way that we've always woken him up, which is through song. Like we'll create a song. My husband will play something and change the lyrics to match whatever
Yes.
he's doing. And he's just like, oh my
Yes.
God. But I know
He
internally,
loves it. He
he's like,
loves it.
I love this. I love this. But that's just like he knows, like, this is mom is silly. I will talk to him in rap lyrics. Like,
Yes.
I was like, one day I was like, it's a good day. I didn't have to use my AK today. He's like, or, or I'm like, mommy's a thug or I'm a player. And he's like, you're a whole therapist. How are you a thug? I'm like,
Can be both. I can be both things.
two things can be true at once. I had a life before you. Okay, okay, okay. So,
Wait, I would say one more thing because it's so I love what you're saying about this because okay, I am so silly too. And my
yeah,
daughter is as well. And my husband is not, he's so serious. But she and I don't even remember where we were. We were just being silly. I'm always making crazy voices. I'm always singing songs. And we were doing something, me and her. And she just, we're laughing. And she takes this big sigh like this. And she says, Mommy, I just love your humanity. And I was
oh,
like, well, tell me what you mean by that. And she explained, the playing and all of that and just being silly. And I said, well, thank you. I love your humanity too. And I just posted on my Instagram yesterday. I just made this little like, I love your humanity. Let me send this out to everyone and remind you to be your authentic self, have
please.
fun, play, and that I love your humanity. And that came out of my, she was 8 at that point. 8 year, she's now 9, 9-year old's mouth. But that's what play and silly and connection and authenticity allow for.
Mm. Come through therapist slash author. Okay, so tell us. Welcome to the village, of course. But tell us who you are, a little bit about yourself, because you and I warmed up quite a bit.
Yes. So my name is JaNay Brown-Wood, PhD, speaker, author, and educator. And my background is child development and it's education and it's supporting early literacy. And so I am someone who tries to do that from multiple angles. I do that
Mm,
through my books because I'm an award winning children's author and I generally write diverse books, but there's always
hmm
a layer of learning within them. Um, so kids walk away with a fun experience from the narrative of the story.
Yeah.
Um, but then they practice some skill or I introduce them to something new. I'll give you a specific example. My book, Jam 2, it's automatopoeic, right? Meaning it's got all these sound words. And so when I
Yeah.
read it with kids, we do call and response, but they don't
Mhm.
realize that they were listening. There's rhyming. They're practicing the sounds. Like these are things that are then going to come in handy when you're having to, decode a word and start to learn how to read. So I
Yeah.
try to add this element of learning within each of the books that I write, on top of things like identity and embracing who you are. So
Mm,
that's that part. But then on the other side of what I do is I'm a former professor of child development and early childhood education. So I used to teach classes about how do children develop, how do you create learning spaces that meet children where they are and support holistic development. How do you set the stage for language development and early literacy? And then
mhm.
I share all of those things with adults, librarians, teachers, parents, community members, anyone who comes in contact with children and wants to help support them.
Yeah.
So that's me. I told myself I'm going to be someone who can walk into any space and engage who's there
Yeah.
with something that helps, again, value children and support their development.
Yeah. And what a perfect person to do that, right? Like to understand what child development actually is
Mm,
from the inside out
mm.
and how to utilize that learning to create the thing that will draw the kid in because you have that insight, right?
Yes.
Like you take everybody's taken a child development course. Even as a therapist, we have child development, but there is a way of like understanding it from the surface. Like, oh
Mm,
yeah, that's typical child development, right? But
yeah.
then to be able to learn it, like really, really learn it so that you can produce the thing that will attract the kid. It's
Yeah.
beautiful, right?
I think, I have this conversation with my sister. Um, Erin is her name. She's actually a horror writer. She
Oh,
writes horror and speculative. So here I
oh,
am writing children's books, and here she is writing these amazing horror stories, and that is just
like
us.
writing journals.
Right? So, so she had said to me something. She kind of shined the light on it, and ever since I was like, yeah. She always says, like, "You find the value in children." So often she feels like society, and I feel this way too. Kids are sort of seen but not heard. You're supposed to do it this way. I'm waiting for you to grow up so you can take care of yourself. And that's
Yeah.
never, I mean, well, yeah, there's some value to that. But me, I like to see the child for who they are in this moment, where they are developmentally, understand where they're coming from. Again, meet them
Yeah.
there, and then you offer
Yeah.
them um, strategies and skills to help continue
Yeah.
to bolster their growth. But
Yeah.
it's a like seeing who they are and understanding. So I'm going to give a
Mhm.
great example from when I was a preschool teacher. I was working with toddlers at this point. And I
Mhm.
remember there was a kid who was a biter, right? He's a biter. And that's not a good thing. I mean, I was a biter too. I didn't tell him that, but so here's this 2-year old. He's a biter. And I had just started that job, and everyone's kind of concerned about this behavior. But I remember right off, I realized he doesn't have much language. Now he's
Mhm.
2, he should have some
Mhm.
words, but he didn't
Mhm.
really have any. And so when I
Mhm.
would observe him and I would see when he was starting to bite, I started to see, wait, there's a pattern here. He just bit that kid because that kid snatched a toy from him and he
Yeah.
wasn't done with it yet. So
Yeah.
his reflex is now you're about to get bit, right? So I
Or
remember them teaching him at that point, and we were working with like some signs because these are, pre-verbal toddlers. They don't have all the words yet, but they have some. So I remember teaching him saying, stop, stop, and then give him the words. I'm using that. I'm
yeah.
not done with that.
Yeah.
And I worked with him and we saw the biting decrease and decrease and decrease. So I bring this up as an example of like, it's not you're a bad kid. It's you have a behavior, a challenging behavior that
Correct.
got you what you needed. In this case, I bit the kid, I got my toy back. But
Right.
my job as the parent, as the teacher, is to step in and say, I see what you need. Let me give you this skill instead. Use your
Yeah.
hand and say, stop, and let them know mine. I'm using that.
I'm
So anyway,
using
it's again, it's valuing you have a need.
yeah.
I see what that need is.
Yeah.
It's not going to now you're gonna be punished. I'm kicking you out the program. Da da da. No, let me provide you with what you need because I value who you are and I see that there is a need there. So, ooh, I'm
Absolutely.
sorry that was very long winded, but I got passionate about
Yeah.
that.
This is a whole episode of Long Story Long. I I mean, I absolutely think that that is, that's something that is really important because even so, me as the therapist working with typically adults, I don't do kids. Kids are not my ministry in that way.
Yeah.
I like kids, but I don't. There are just like teachers, there are
Mm,
therapists who are amazing child therapists, right? Where
absolutely.
I'm like, how did you get them to do that or say that or whatever?
Yeah.
It's not my ministry.
Mm.
However, that reminds me of like how I work with adults. It's like,
Mm.
who are you coming into the space as?
Yes.
Because that's who I'm meeting. I'm not trying to change who you are. You're coming to me and you're saying, hey, I have this behavior that I'm not proud of, or I'm not happy
Yeah.
with, or this is the thing that happened. I'm like, well, who are we now? How do you respond now?
Yeah.
Is that okay
Yeah.
for you? If it is, if you're like, girl, I cuss people out, I damn side this, I'm like, okay, do you like it? Yep, works for me. Okay, tell me what about that works for you. They'll tell me, okay, how are the people around you? Do they, and then they start to, oh shit, like I am pushing people away. Okay,
Mm.
healthy for you. So it's about meeting them. I'm not coming in like you got to be somebody different because
Right.
society ain't gonna appreciate you.
Yeah.
It's who are we now and who are we growing into?
Yes. And
So
I'm hearing like
yeah,
doing that without judgment. That's really what it
yeah,
is. Without
it's
judgment. But let's look at
yeah,
this and how can I help you get what you
yeah,
need? Right.
yeah. You
I'm
would
a
be an
snap for that.
amazing.
I'm
You
snapping
would
for
be
that.
a yes. You would be an amazing child therapist. You would. You know what? We need more of y'all because I get people asking me all the time. And they're like, "You are so good." Mm-mm. Like I can talk to kids. Like some kids, I work with a couple of kids.
Yeah.
Like your parent will call, like, please, we can't find nobody else. I'm like, okay, bring them. What's
Okay.
happening? And I adored them, but they were like little adults. Like
Yeah.
they would like, so this is what I considered. And I have notes here. And the way that person made me feel was, I mean, so they're talking to me like, or I'm like, oh, okay, okay, I'll do anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll
No, I
bring names, nothing. We just having real conversations. But yeah, so I'm glad you're in that space. But you'd be an amazing child therapist.
my bachelor's degree was in psychology and I considered that for a moment. But the thing was, I knew that knowing myself and how I'm an emotional person, I feel deeply, I knew that I would not be able to turn it off. I knew that I would carry all of it with me. So
Yeah.
instead, what I try to do is kind of infuse a little bit of that in my books. So I have a I have a chapter book series called Love Puppies. And so
Oh,
chapter books we're talking about for like kindergarten if you're an advanced reader, kindergarten to 3rd grade.
okay.
And within those books, I actually incorporate social emotional strategies. So each one of basically it's a series of magical puppies who help human children navigate difficult social situations.
Ah,
And so the puppies are actually using strategies to help them with those things, but they're puppies. Like they're getting it wrong and they're getting it wrong. But they're putting the human child on the right track to then solve the problem themselves. So like the first one is about making friends. And so they're
yeah,
trying to do, like behind the scenes, trying to help this very shy girl who just moved to a new school trying to help find a friend for her, but it just keeps failing and failing and failing. But then they put her into the right spot to then be able to make a friend on her own. So it's like
yeah,
they're actual strategies kids could use to help them with things like the second book was about grief. It was losing a pet, but
mm,
the pet didn't die. The pet ran away, right? So
mm,
there's one about like growth mindset and confidence. There's one
yeah.
about a brand new sibling.
Oh,
So while I'm not a child psychologist, again, as I said, I try to put some of those things into my books so
yeah.
children can learn through the
Well,
stories of them.
I think I'm just, well, what I should do is purchase,
Yeah.
not for me, not for me to have for therapy, right? Because,
Yeah.
I ain't working with kids, but
Right.
purchase them for the child therapist in my life, right?
Mm,
Because they could be good tools. Because
absolutely.
sometimes, all of my folks know my therapy kin, they know I'm a huge reader. Like in this office at home and my office away, there's
Yeah.
books. And I will be like, I got a book for that girl. So
Mm,
after this session, you can reflect. Like, read this chapter. This is amazing. So
Yeah.
even with your books, it's like I may be saying the thing, but sometimes to bring it home, we need the visual, especially for
Yeah.
children. Like we
Yeah.
need that. And so I'm gonna, get on the website and get
Check
the books
them
because I have
out.
people in my life.
Mm,
And then I will meet you at a Starbucks and ask you if you would please sign my book like a groupie. I'll pay
absolutely.
you for the signature because your signature is worth something. And so there we go. Or, I'm a new business owner. So I'd be like, can I just buy you a snack?
Well, what actually happened is then I'll pull out your book and say, I'll sign mine if you sign yours.
Of course. But I'm going to have a stack for you. So because I have like little kiddos in my life. So,
Yeah.
I think seeing ourselves in print and even seeing ourselves as children, I think as Black
Mm,
and brown kids, we are forced to grow up very, very fast. And not in the
sure.
way like grow like how we think people, you fast. Not like that. But we
Yeah.
have to see the world very, very differently. We have to be on our toes all the time.
Mm,
Like even with my son, he was diagnosed with autism when he was 4.
mm,
And I can remember us being like, you had the ABA come to the house and they would let him just, he's expressing himself. And I said, whoa, he
mm,
cannot do that in the world. And we don't do that here in the house because we have to get him ready for life. Like I'm already thinking about this as a 4-year-old. Is that fair for him to not be able to be a child?
mm,
Or I would hear people like, well, my son's on the spectrum and that's why that's why he kicked you in the shin. I'm like, my kid is
mm,
like, he's not allowed
mm.
to do that because he would probably be in jail or y'all
Right.
would call. So it's not fair. So I love the fact that your books are showing kids to be kids and like, how can we play? And that we are people too in our humanity, what that looks like. So thank you for that.
Well, thank you.
Okay, it's like a little love fest.
I'm here for it. Ooh, I am
Me too.
here for it.
Valentine's after post Valentine's, we here for it. What book are you currently reading besides your own?
Let's see. I I am dabbling, which is brand new. Because remember how I told you my guideposts are like evolving?
Yeah.
I am dabbling in writing for adults, which I
Oh,
don't know where it's gonna lead. I'm a
okay.
storyteller, so I'm gonna just be
Mhm.
writing stories. But I am reading the Glass Throne um series. The
Oh, what is
Glass,
that
yes, the Glass Throne.
about?
Sarah J. Moss, I think her name is,
Okay.
and it's about the strong female protagonist, and it's kind of fantasy, and so that's what I'm reading right now on the fiction side.
Okay. Who
On
was it, the Glass Throne
the it's
series?
a yeah, I think it's the Glass Throne series. Let me make
Okay.
sure I tell you the right one. I'm only on number 2. Hold on, I'm gonna tell you.
Okay.
It's the Glass.
Okay.
I think it's yeah, Throne of Glass. Throne of Glass
Throne of
series.
Glass.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So that it's interesting. And I like to just research. You read them for fun, but also read them for research.
Mhm.
So
Sure.
that, but I'm also reading. I told you it's called Playful. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Playful. So it's like play space full. And let me see. I'm going to tell you who the author is. Here we go.
Yes.
Playful. No, it is all just playful. How play shifts our thinking, inspires connection, and sparks creativity. And it's by
Uh-huh.
Cass Holman.
Okay. See, this is the problem. Y'all come on and I'm like, oh, we're building a library for the village. Girl, you're building a library for me. This is a personal question.
Yes,
What?
all
Damn,
day.
y'all. Personal.
But hey, it's
And my
great though. I
husband,
mean, especially if you find if a recommendation ends up being like, this shifted my whole paradigm on XYZ.
yeah,
I mean, I love
yeah,
that.
yes. Yes. My husband is like, every time I get off the podcast with y'all, a book is coming because I'm like, okay, ordered, ordered.
Yeah, like you know, boo.
Yes. Thank you. Yeah, yeah, it is. It's bad over here. It is bad. Um, okay, that's great. I am currently reading. There's a book that I picked up. It's called God
Mm,
of the Oppressed. I
ooh,
haven't like flipped over it, but it's basically like how oppressed people see God. I think. So that's why I was like, because
yep,
I just
yep.
picked it up. But it's how oppressed people, so like Black folks, have this relationship with God. Probably religion is, that sort of thing. So that's probably for
Mm,
like I'm writing a dissertation about Buddhist practices and
ooh,
interventions with Black women. Um,
yeah.
how traditional therapy interventions sometimes don't work because people are like, girl, I'm still mad. I'm still like, I did all the things, check, check, check. What is happening here? So figuring out what are the interventions or practices that we can use in a daily life
Mm,
that can help us deal with life.
with
Like,
lifing.
right,
Yes.
right. Because, oppression, anti Blackness, it does not just like our world is white supremacy, right? Our whole world is like
Built
we are
on it.
operating in this world. And so how do we get to this place of not acceptance of like, okay, this is my life, but actually saying, where does my power lie here?
Mm,
How am I going to shift me to
mm,
shift the world around me and how I see myself and my greatness? So I'm really exploring in that way. So
mm.
that's that. And then I'm also, see, I dabble too much and I'm reading What My Bones Know. So it's about trauma, the effects of trauma, processing the trauma, but also how our bones, our bodies can remember it. So it can be like a sight, a sound, a
Interesting.
smell. And
Mm,
people will be like, I got over this. And it's like, these things live in our bones. It's like
mm.
how we say generationally,
Yes.
we have experienced or we're experiencing the things that our grandparents or our grandmothers, great grandmothers, like we don't know what this is, like why we're reacting this way, or why I'm saying this thing, or even how I see myself and my children. But that stuff lives in our DNA. Like it does. So what do our spirits know? What do our souls know? What do our bones know
Oh,
about the things that have happened? And how do we continue to a have grace and compassion for ourselves, and then also understand what's going on, so that maybe we can do something different or we can
mm.
start changing how we do things. So that's what I'm reading right now.
Ooh.
Yeah, yeah.
Those
So,
both sound like great books. Thank you for the
well,
Rex.
you're welcome. What song reminds you of childhood?
I was going through like, dang, where to start? So I came to two. And I
Okay.
know you said what one, but I'm going to give you two.
No, you can give me five if you want to.
The first one, see if you know it. Ready?
Okay.
As your body grows bigger, your mind grows flowers. It's great to learn because knowledge is power. That one.
Okay. Yep.
Schoolhouse Rock.
Yes. Yep.
Schoolhouse Rock is totally one
Mm-hmm.
that colors my childhood in a beautiful way.
Mm-hmm.
So that
Mm-hmm.
one. But then also the song Tony, Tony, Tony. Come on, let's get down, let's get down, let's get down. And I think of that one because me and my sisters and my cousins, we used to be at the roller rink and we was, doing our thing. And when that song came on, we had a little dance that we did every time. So those are my two, Schoolhouse Rock and Let's
Okay.
Get Down with Tony, Tony,
Okay.
Tony.
Well, that is one combo. That is one combo. Because, and it's so funny that you brought up like Schoolhouse Rock because the song that I thought of was, um, it's a jingle. So it's
Oh,
whatever it is, I think I see becomes a Tootsie Roll to me. Roll, chocolatey, chocolatey chew. Tootsie Roll, I think I'm in love with you. Whatever it is, I think I see. That's what I thought of. Because I used to, I mean, I would sing that like it was released
I
on.
love it.
Yes,
Huh?
yes. Yeah. Oh, I
When I
love
think of Tootsie Roll, I think of that owl, right? Do you remember the commercial? The little girl would come, how many licks do you think it
yes.
was? And he'd be like, one, two, and then he would write two. It is two. Or maybe it was three. I don't remember. But
But he was sitting on that ledge or that
yep.
tree, and it was just aggressive. I was like, how does his teeth handle that? That's where my mind went. Like, oh, I could never.
And meanwhile, the little girl's like, wah, wah. Right?
Right, like 3 licks. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you so much for sharing.
My
Okay,
pleasure.
here we go. It took us like
Right.
8 hours, but here we are. Can you share a bit about your journey? And you shared a little bit of becoming a children's author
Yes.
and what called you to write stories specifically for children, and especially Black children, Black and brown
Yep.
children.
Yeah. So I'm going to take it all the way back to elementary
Mm,
when I hated reading, which sounds crazy for an author who now says I have 30 books and counting, like more coming out. I hated
mhm,
reading. I loved being read to, but I just could not connect to stories. I loved words, but I
mhm,
remember just like being told to read, and we would have a comprehension test, and I would be the kid skimming the chapter 10 minutes before the test and then just like winging it. You could
mm,
not get me to read, and I mean I just did not enjoy it. But during that time I was writing. I was writing my own stories, I was illustrating my own stories, and I was always putting me and my family into those stories. Like I still have two picture books that I wrote, one in 6th grade, one in 7th grade. And it
mhm,
was the Taylor the Tyrannosaurus Rex. It was like a series, and my little sister's name was Taylor. And it
mm.
had my cousins in it, Shalexis and Miles and Antonique, because you weren't about to find that in a book
You weren't gonna
back
find
then. Or
you
mhm.
were not gonna find no Antoinique in
Nope.
a book.
No, no. But they were in my book because
Yeah,
those were my, those were my people. That's my family.
yeah.
So fast forward to college. Now I was lucky because even though I hated reading, I had a dad who he went to UCLA too, and he was like, "Listen, you about to read these books, okay, Daddy? Okay, okay." So I mean, I did really well academically, and so I went to UCLA, and I remember being in a culture class
Mhm,
and learning about the academic achievement gap, which is what it was called back then. Now it's more educational debt and all of that, right?
mhm,
And being like, what? When I learned how Black and brown children were performing more poorly on like
mm,
math and reading compared to their white counterparts and often to the Asian counterparts as well. And just
yeah,
being like, what? And that put me on this trajectory, I think, to early childhood education and child development.
yeah.
So when I learned about that, I took on a minor, which was called applied developmental psychology. So all of that to say that as I was learning about how children develop and also always had an interest in writing, when I
Mm,
finished my bachelor's, I decided I want to try to do this thing called writing for kids. So
mm,
I jumped into it. I had my first story. Chiyoko, it took 8 years from conception of that idea, which I
yeah,
think I was like a junior at UCLA when I came up with this idea. eight
yeah.
years to actually holding it in a published book. And that 8 years was filled with rejections. It was like I sent it out and I got so many no's. But I used that time to read as many picture books as I could, to take classes, just fiction classes, poetry classes. I took a class on children's literature. Like I was doing the work to understand what really made a strong story, what made a strong narrative. And so
Mhm,
all the while I'm doing that, I'm writing more, I'm sending it out. And then finally, a friend of mine, once I moved up to Sacramento, during this 8 years. I was in a critique group, and one of my critique group partners, Rosie, told me you should submit this story to this contest. And so
Mm.
now this is already, like I told you, years into trying to perfect it. And so I sent it to the contest, and the prize was a book contract. And I won that contest. And not only did I win it, but it came with an award, the NAESP Children's Book of the Year Award. And that's how
Mm.
my first book, Imani's Moon, got published. And now Imani's Moon is 12 years old. Like, I remember when it was going to publish and me being like, I hope it doesn't go out of print. I hope people read it. And since Imani's Moon was featured on like Stephen Colbert's show, and it's still going on strong 12 years later.
Mm.
So my journey was one of rejection, but also of refinement and learning and perseverance.
Yeah.
And now, my 31st book just came out in January, and I have, I believe, four more coming out this year.
Oh,
So
yeah.
it was a journey of perseverance. Um,
Yeah. Are you still with the same publisher since Imani's Moon?
I work with a range of publishers. And so Imani's Moon was through Charlesbridge, which, yeah, I still work with Charlesbridge, and I love Charlesbridge. And I think of them as being like the ones who let me in. Like, they were the ones
Mhm.
who, because when I got Imani's Moon, that prize, and it published, and I was working with the editor. Her name was Julie Blimmen. And I was like, I have another. Can I send you my other manuscript? And then she bought Grandma's Tiny House. She bought Shh, the Baby's Asleep. And since, I think she and I are up to 9 books that we
Okay.
published together. The ninth is coming out later on this year. So I work with Charlesbridge, Scholastic, Penguin Random House. I mean, a bunch of publishers.
That's so neat. I mean, of course, nobody likes rejection, right?
Yeah.
But you're talking about it from this lens of, okay, what can I learn from it? Not that I am
Mhm.
going to give up on the dream of being a published author or an author,
Yes.
but I'm going to use this time as these rejections come in to refine the craft. And what
Yeah.
can I do? And I love that you didn't get down on yourself. And I'm sure there were a lot of frustrating days and like, why
Yes.
isn't anybody picking this beautiful story up? But the fact that you were like, I'm going to refine this is, yeah, it's a testament to character and, like you said, perseverance for sure.
Thank you. And growth mindset. This idea of like, I haven't gotten it yet, but I'm going to keep at it. And I love to tell this to kids. I think kids need to hear there's going to be challenges. There's going to be things in your life that are going to test you, and but
Mhm.
you can't let that stop you.
Yeah.
And so I'm so glad that I didn't, because what's really cool too is my book Imani's Moon kind of parallels the experience. Even though when I wrote it, I didn't know, but it's about this young girl setting an impossible task. I wrote it like an African folk tale, so there's magic and like talking animals and all that. So she
Mhm.
sets this impossible task, and she fails and fails and fails, and then finally she succeeds. And so that parallels my own story of like, I'm setting this task to try to get a book published, and I'm failing and failing, and then
Yeah.
succeed in the most beautiful way.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you think gets a manuscript published? What do you think the key is? Is it who you are sending it to, the manuscript to? Is it what's the market? What do you think gets a book published or a publishing house buying the book?
I can't speak to every genre or adult, so I'll speak to my experience with children's books.
Yeah.
But I think one of the most important pieces, Chioko, is to understand narrative, to understand narrative structure, at least in my opinion, if you're trying to
Mhm.
sell in today's age, right?
Yeah.
Because sometimes when I see people's manuscripts, if they're trying to write for children, often it feels didactic, like I'm trying to teach this kid something. And it's too lengthy, and it feels more like a lecture in some, pages.
Yeah.
The focus should be the story. It needs to have your inciting incident, it needs to have your um, events that are leading to this climax. It needs to have this resolution. It's got to have all those elements on top of the strong elements of story
Yeah.
and be done in this sort of compelling way that shows that you have a grasp of how to write a true story. Because, for example, if the story doesn't have a conflict, it's not really a story, right? Like if your character isn't coming up against something that they have to overcome, then sometimes it feels more just like this happened and then this happened and then this happened. The end. It's not giving your reader something to fight for or something to like, what's going to happen next now
Yeah.
that this new obstacle has come. So
Yeah.
really learning and understanding narrative arc, all of those pieces, I think that is one of the things that helps set you apart. But there's also luck, because sometimes you write something and then, I mean, even now, I still get a bazillion. Sorry, I still get a bazillion rejections, even though I have an agent, even though I have 30 plus books, even I still get rejections.
Mm,
Um, and so sometimes it's like the publishing house says, "Oh, we just bought something that's just like this," or this doesn't really fit what we're trying to put out right now because right now we're focusing on X. So there is some luck that goes along with it, but I
yeah.
think that you increase your likelihood of getting published if you are able to again really grasp and produce a strong narrative.
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes that's learning. Like you said, you're getting rejected and you're like, okay, well, I know this is a good story, but how can
Yeah.
I make this better?
Mhm. And ask yourself,
Humility.
what's the conflict?
Yeah.
What's the conflict of your story? Because I feel like that tends to be one of the things that's missing. Like, yeah,
Hmm.
your character's great. Oh, that's sweet. But what's the problem that has to be fixed?
What's the problem that needs to be fixed? Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, your books are rooted in culture,
Yeah.
imagination, like you were talking about Imani's Moon, like even like this idea of how us as Black people tell stories, griots,
Yeah.
how do we tell stories, like the folklore and stuff. And your books are rooted in care. What messages or feelings do you hope that children walk away with after
Mm.
reading your stories?
I want children to feel a few things. I want them to feel seen,
Mm,
especially children of color feel seen in stories that aren't just about like oppression, for example, or slavery, or I just want for like Grandma's Tiny House. It's based on my family's Thanksgiving because my dad had 13 siblings at one point and we were all piled in my grandma's house. And it's really just about the conflict is will everyone fit? Because we
mm,
have so many of them, we got all this food and we're coming together. So I want you to see yourself in that, right?
yeah.
So often kids will be like, that's just like my grandma's house. And I'm like, yes, yes. So feel
Mhm.
that joy, feel that love, feel that family, feel that community, and see mirrors, like see my books as mirrors, um, casting their experience back at them because
Mm,
that validates their experience. I want
yeah.
them to have that. I also want readers to walk away with often learning something new. Like in my Where in the Garden series, I introduce a bunch of different produce. Some are familiar produce, but then some are not. They're unfamiliar, like artichoke. And so I want a kid to be like, what is an artichoke? And can I taste it? And now
Mhm.
I'm like, oh, I love artichokes. And now you learn a new produce, you're eating healthy food, right? So
Yeah.
that I want my readers to walk away with something new and learning something. But I especially want, because they see themselves in these books, I want them to walk away wanting to read more,
Mm,
wanting to pick up more books, wanting to engage in more adventures, to then put them on a trajectory to be lifelong readers. That's
mhm.
what I want. And I think I often wonder if I had found books that looked like Grandma's Tiny House, so I could have said, oh my gosh, that's my family.
Mhm.
Maybe that would have pulled me into loving to read earlier. It wasn't until I was an adult that I built a love for reading. So kids
Yeah.
need that earlier, especially when we're talking
Yeah.
about brain development that has to happen to set the stage for the reading brain. So I
Yeah.
want them to walk away exciting excited to pick up another book
Mhm.
and read some more.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what has been life like navigating the publishing world as a Black children's author? Because, I mean, you have published and you have a publisher, but our experiences, I know, in everything is just different, right?
Yeah.
And what have you learned? Well, let me just stop there. So, what has life been like for you as a Black woman that's a children's book author and navigating those spaces?
I think it's had very beautiful highs, but it's also had some challenging pieces too. So, like, one of the beautiful highs I remember is I was reading Imani's Moon. I was at Underground Books,
Mhm.
and there was this little girl who was sitting crisscross applesauce. She had her copy of Imani's Moon on her lap. She was flipping the page with me, looking up at me with awe. And then after, to find out her middle name was Imani. And
Oh,
like, this is her favorite book. So there are those moments
mm,
where kids again feel validated. Actually, just this last week, I was doing a school visit in the Bay Area, and I read my new book called This Hair Belongs, which is this ode to Black hair, to push back on the stigma of Black hair, right? And to
yep.
talk about the history and the beauty and the versatility of our hair. And I had finished reading, and at the end, a little girl comes over, little Black girl, and she points and she's like, "That's like my hair." And I'm like, "Yes, and it's beautiful and it belongs." Those are those highs, right?
Yeah.
But then
Yeah.
there's also challenges like things like reviews where you can get a review that just be hurting your feelings. That you're just like, wait, what? We talking about the same book? Cause what? So reviews are hard. And right now in this country, the bannings that are happening, book
Mhm.
bannings. I remember for a moment, Imani's Moon was on one of those lists. And it was in, what was it, Central York, Pennsylvania? And they had this big long list of books that were going to be banned. And when you looked on this list, and I remember this vividly, you were trying to find the reasons why. And for my
Mm,
book, Imani's Moon, it just listed like author of color. Oh, so your criteria, your reasoning for including Imani's Moon on your banned list is because it's written by an author of color. That makes sense. But when we're talking about bannings, we're talking about impacting kids being able to find themselves in books. We're talking about impacting authors who are just trying to spread a love for reading.
yeah.
We're talking about, I mean, ends up affecting authors in multiple ways because I've heard of people who then have school visits canceled because they have this one book that's questionable, and you know what I mean. So I've been fortunate that that's the only example I could think of for Imani's Moon, other than Mahogany, which is my Little Red Riding Hood story,
Mm.
that they put on a like considering to be banned list. But
So they
it's
have a
a retelling,
they have a banned
huh?
list. They have a banned list and a considering to be banned.
Because it's like it'll be put on this list to be reviewed to whether or not it's going to be actually banned from, I don't know, like a library system or a school district or something like that. And Mahogany was one of them. And I'm like, it is a retelling. Why is it mine that is you want to ban?
Hmm.
I mean, other than that, I incorporated some like embracing your culture and embracing your hair and embracing your melanin. It's Little Red Riding Hood. So those, I feel like those are some of the tough parts of it.
Yeah.
But those moments of a little girl looking up at me and seeing not only herself in my words and my stories, but in me as a
Mm.
Black woman author, and me being able to say, you can do it too. I actually just had a little interview with a fan from, I think, Georgia, reached out. Can I interview you? I picked you for Black History Month. And we just sat and chatted. And then I found out she wants to be an author. And I was like, well, let me give you these tips. And those are the things that just make you feel like I am doing what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
Like, this
Yeah.
is right. So
Mhm.
while there are those lows, those beautiful highs outshine those lows and keep
Mhm.
me going on doing this important work.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Well, have you learned about the beauty of storytelling and
Mhm.
visibility and community in this journey? What have you learned?
I believe everybody's story deserves to be told. I mean, I encourage people to write their stories, learn about the way to, do it in a way if you're trying to get it published. But like, your story deserves to be shared. Write it down. Be ready to put in the due diligence, though, to refine it. But
Yes.
like, share your stories. And again, I'm bringing up This Hair Belongs, which is my newest. I've found that when I'm reading the story, I'll have Black women come tell me things like, "That was therapeutic." That's a quote. Someone said, "That was therapeutic." And another started sharing her hair journey with me. And then there's someone else sharing her hair journey with me. And
Yeah.
when those sorts of things happen, it's like, okay, again, I'm doing something right. And because then I would encourage them to like share that with others, write it down. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess what have I learned? Again, be your authentic self. Your authentic
Mm.
your authentic self is beautiful. Share your stories. But
Mhm.
again, just know that it's going to come with challenges. You can't let that stop you. Just keep moving forward.
Yeah. Just keep going.
Mm,
Okay. You are also a part of this upcoming event, the Black Family Collective event. Collective is
yeah.
words. Can you tell us what this gathering is about and why spaces like this matters for Black families
Mhm.
in this current moment and always?
Yes. So tell you a little bit about Black Family Collective. I partnered with A Seat at the Table Books in Elk Grove.
Mm.
For it's an all day family event. And we were really thinking about this idea of it takes a village, right? It
Yeah.
takes a village to raise a child. So we wanted to craft a space that brings families in to build this community. And then within this
Mhm.
space, it's going to be centered on literacy and art. And we have activities tied to like hair and
Mhm.
a collective art creation project. So it's just, how we started this conversation off talking about play and being in a space to play. Just
Yeah.
come play with us, be in community with us, um, join us in stories. And then it finishes off with an open mic night. So we just wanted to craft a space where the whole family can come, feel
Mhm.
welcome, let their hair
Mhm.
down a little bit, have some fun with us, but it's still centered on literacy and community.
Yeah. Okay. That is lovely. So it's at a seat at the table books, correct?
Mhm. Mhm.
And
February 28th.
February 28th, and I will put that in the show's notes, of course. And how is it that people can get additional information? Because you gave a beautiful synopsis of what's happening, but you always know there's
Right.
always one that will not rewind the podcast to get the
Yeah.
information. So, can you just give all of the who, what, where, when, why, times,
Yes.
that sort of thing?
Absolutely. So it's happening February 28th. And if you want to get specific details, you can follow me on Instagram or Facebook. You can follow A Seat at the Table on Instagram and Facebook. But we've broken it up into sort of sections. So we have the morning section that includes like an introductory event that starts at 9:30 a.m. It's going to be story time, some good times there.
Hmm.
Then we have some excuse me, an afternoon portion that will include some hands-on activities, some stories, some demonstrations.
Yeah.
Then we have the evening portion, which will include actually a conversation with another author. He's going to be talking about his book.
Hmm.
And it's and also after that, it's gonna be a jammies party with JaNay, which is gonna be a bedtime stories. We're encouraging families to come out, wear their pajamas. I'm gonna have my pajamas on. we're going to have a good time around stories and bedtime stories. And
Yeah.
then it finishes off with an open mic. So as you see, it's just, and then I should also mention there'll be a resource fair.
Oh,
If you want some information about different resources for Black families,
yeah.
there will be a collective art project, a collective poetry
Mm,
project, just to bring everybody out and just to have fun and be in community.
yeah. That's
So,
not a club.
and we have, I know, right? It's like, woo. And we have an Eventbrites for each of those sections of the day. Like I said, a morning section, afternoon section, and evening section. There are Eventbrites that you can find if you look for a seat at the table.
Okay.
We've got those Eventbrites where people can start RSVPing so we can get an idea of how many people are going to come through.
Right.
But yeah, we just want it to be a celebratory space for community, books, literacy, arts, the Black family.
Yeah. I mean, Black.
Yeah.
Well, for families and caregivers, educators who are
Mm,
listening, what is it that you are hoping that they experience by attending this? Because you said play, which is huge, and literacy and learning and being together. But is
yes.
there anything else that you believe that you hope that they walk away with?
Joy.
Mm,
Joy. I feel like it's just been tough times as of late,
yeah.
and everybody just needs some joy in their lives. And so I want them to walk away feeling joyful,
Mm,
having had spent time with their family and their community doing some of these events or activities that we have planned, but
yeah.
just joy. Because, Black joy is a form of resistance. So come through and share in it with community. Um, yeah, I would say I just want joy. I'm hoping that in this space, everybody's smiling and enjoying each other's company
Yeah.
and just joyful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Last question.
Okay.
Earlier, I talked about the book that I was reading about what our bones know, which
Mm,
relating to trauma, right? And I
mm,
think, like you said, a lot of stories, a lot of movies about Black people are rooted in trauma and oppression. And it's
mm.
not enough joy. Like, it is really rare for a new movie to come out and you're like, oh my gosh, that is they are in love and they're happy and there's no I
Yeah.
mean, of course there's always a conflict, which is a good story, but it is not something that is detrimental to the spirit, right? It's something that
Yeah.
comes back from.
Mhm.
Question to you is what do your bones know about joy?
My bones know that. Oh, that's a good one, Chioko.
Mm.
My bones know that there is space for joy, even in the darkness.
Mm.
But sometimes we gotta stumble a little bit through the dark to get to that light that joy brings. But I think that's why, for me, I'm being intentional in the way that I'm saying play, because play brings joy for me.
Yeah.
So, me knowing that and acknowledging that gives me, again, I call them guideposts, right? God,
Yeah.
man, this is all coming together beautifully. Guides me through those dark times
Yeah.
to those joyful spaces so
Mm.
that I can still have that. So, I think my bones know joy is out there. Sometimes it takes a little bit of searching to find it,
Yeah.
but not to give up
Mm.
and make sure I have that space for play and creativity because that is going to be that beacon through the dark.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, JaNay, Dr. JaNay. You are absolutely lovely, and I
Oh,
have
thank
enjoyed
you.
all of our moments together, which has been few, but every single time I have enjoyed. You bring a light that
Oh,
is very undeniable, and I've enjoyed all of our time together, and even how you would sit with people to help them figure something out. And it wasn't in a way of like, this is what you do. And it didn't come off like that. It was more of this, like you said, if I can do this, you can too. And I have already walked this path. So let me clear out some brush to help you
Mm.
walk too. So it is a light that is absolutely beautiful. And I'm really glad to be in community with you and learn from you. And I also look forward to having you back soon so that we
Yes.
so I can get my selfish needs met of how do I need to work this because these locks are about to so
All right.
go.
Well, I cannot thank you enough
Yeah.
for having me, for the beautiful conversation, from
Mm,
your beautiful spirit. Like what you were saying, I feel like ditto on all those things.
thank
And this
you.
has just been a joy and a treasure. So thank you. Thank you for having me on.
Yes, of course. So I will put all of oh, before you go, what is your IG so I can put that in the show
Yes.
as well?
Yeah. At JaNay Brown-Wood.
Okay.
Yep. And then I have a website that's just www.janaybrownwood.com. And I'm
Mhm.
on Facebook and LinkedIn, just JaNay Brown-Wood, PhD, speaker, author, and educator.
Okay. Okay. Oh, love it. So you have a happy Sunday
Thank you. You
and
too.
be good to yourself. Don't let that sun freak you out like me. But I will talk to you soon.
All right. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. Bye.